Welcome back to Up Front. Parents who are getting food stamps could lose those benefits if they don't work enough. Governor Walker last week rolled out his plans for welfare reform. He wants to require able-bodied adults with school-aged children to work at least 80 hours a month or lose their share of the benefits. Or if they don't have a job, parents on public assistance would be required to attend job training or search for work 5 days a week.
All of these with the idea being that we want to get people in the workforce. We fundamentally believe that public assistance should be a trampoline, not a hammock. And by that, I mean we want to help people get back into the workforce, not be settled into assistance.
One Milwaukee Democratic lawmaker says it's morally unjust to threaten to cut benefits for low-income families. We're joined now by Senator LaTonya Johnson of Milwaukee. Senator, it's good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to ask you about welfare reform in just a moment, but first, I'd like to get your reaction to the big decision on Friday involving the way our legislative maps have been drawn in the state of Wisconsin.
I'm excited to hear what we already know, is that the way that those maps were drawn were unfair. We want to make sure that the democratic process is just that. It's an opportunity for everyone to have an opportunity to have their voices heard at the ballot box. And the way that those districts were drawn, there was no fairness to that process. So I'm excited that that has been recognized. I wish I could be more excited by being told that the Republicans don't have to redraw the districts. That's another concern for us, but they have from now until November to decide how that'll be done. So 2018, things should be different.
And you're hoping for public input as this order comes out and Republicans are supposed to put together new maps. You would like more public input on this?
Yes, I would. We want to make sure that this is a fair and just and open process for everyone. And the only way to guarantee that fairness is to get input from the public as to how that should be done.
I want to talk about welfare reform with you. You've been pretty outspoken about what the governor is proposing. Able-bodied adults with school-aged children, minimum of 80 hours a month working or in job training or looking for a job. You called it morally unjust. Why is it morally unjust?
It's morally unjust because there is no way to guarantee that the cuts that are made to the parent will not affect the children. Anytime that there's a reduction in benefits, especially when children are involved, there's no way to segregate those cuts just specifically for the parent. So that's ultimately going to be cuts to the family. And so whenever you have children involved, and in particularly when you're talking about food share benefits, those cuts are going to affect those children. There's no way around it.
I want to push back on that. The governor's argument is that, look, we're trying to give people an opportunity for a better life. We're trying to get them job training. We're trying to get them a job. We're trying to improve the quality of their life and not make them reliant on government, that it's about the dignity of work. What's your response to that?
Everyone wants to see people in the state be self-sufficient and be able to support their families. And I agree with that 100%. But penalizing a parent if they are unable for whatever reason to follow through with those requirements only penalizes the child. If you have a parent who's receiving $211 in food stamps and say the parent's portion is $50, well, then that doesn't become a cut of $50 and then the parent's not allowed to eat. That becomes a cut to the family. And those food share benefits are distributed among that family equally. We want to ensure that people not only have an opportunity to go to work, but that the children are not penalized because they are not responsible for being here, and they're definitely not responsible for if their family or if their parent can't pull their act together and do what they need to do in order to make sure that those children are eligible to eat. We're talking about sanctions that are as severe as the first sanction, you're kicked off your benefits for 30 days. The second sanction, we're looking at 90 days. And the third sanction is a 6-month sanction, and those are exceptionally harsh for families who are just trying to feed themselves.
And we're talking about roughly 7,300 families is what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Is there anything you can do to stop the welfare reform, the proposals that the governor's put forth?
I don't know if there's anything that I can do to stop this, but there's definitely something that can be said about the practice and about not ensuring that these cuts will not harm the family or the children. And so we want to make sure that those parents have an opportunity to fulfill those obligations, but we want to make sure that those children don't fall through that safety net as well.
Senator LaTanya Johnson, the Democrat from the Milwaukee area, it's good to have you on the program today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Governor Walker had former Republican Governor Tommy Thompson at his side when he announced his welfare reform plan. Thompson was the state's first welfare reform governor. Our editorial partner, WisPolitics.com, President Jeff Mayer, says the issue was a political winner for Thompson and could be for Walker in 2018.
Walker's numbers, his weakness has been he's lost independence. And I think his messages on taxes, college affordability, tuition cut, and this are part of a pathway to get those independents back.
The new downtown Milwaukee arena is taking shape. I'll be talking to Milwaukee Bucks president Peter Feigin about the project and progress when Up Front continues.